Yo, what's up guys, Wakuzi here with another Honkai Star Rail video. Today we are going to take a short break from Genshin and instead we are going to take a look at the newest character in Star Rail, Huohuo. By now I'm going to assume that most of you have seen one of the two announcement trailers for Huohuo, the little exorcist who is so scared of ghosts that she can't really exorcise them unless her second personality takes over. And she in a way is the same as Shongyung in Genshin Impact. An exorcist so powerful that he immediately takes care of all the spirits around him, or at least makes them run away from him, just like Huohuo runs away in her announcement trailer. And that, obviously, in the case of Shongyung, leads to him never having seen a single ghost in his entire life, even though he is an exorcist. So, let us get started by taking a look at Huohuo. Let us talk about her kit, her relics, her light counts, team composition, basically everything there is. First up, we have her basic attack, and it is just that, a basic attack. It does some damage based on her max HP, but that is kinda it. So let us move on to her more interesting abilities. Her skill as well as her talent both work hand in hand. With her skill, Huohuo can dispel one debuff from a single ally of your choice, and on top of that she also heals said ally based on her own max HP, as well as the two closest allies to your main target, so a fairly good skill. But like I said, her talent also comes into play here. Possession Ethereal Metaflow gives Huohuo 2 stacks of sacrificed life whenever she uses her skill. The buff is active for 2 turns and loses 1 stack whenever she acts, and only then. Each time an ally takes action, or if an ally uses her ultimate, you heal said ally based on Huohuo's max HP. On top of that, you also dispel them if they have a debuff. On top of that, you also trigger that effect directly whenever an ally's HP falls below 50%. This, in a basic nutshell, means that Huohuo has a lot of outgoing healing and dispels even outside of her own turn. Before we move on to her ultimate and her technique, let us quickly talk about her major passive traces. Fearful Act gives her 1 stack of sacrificed life whenever the battle starts. Stress Reaction to Horror gives her 1 point of energy whenever an ally gets healed by her talent. And finally, the Cursed One gives her a huge 35% buff to her chance to resist crowd control. Her ultimate itself is called Tail Spiritual Domination. It gives her the ability to restore the energy of all allies, 20% to be precise, except for herself. Sad face. And it also buffs the attack of all allies by 40% for 2 turns. This ultimate is basically the same as Tingyun's ultimate, only that it works for the entire team. The stats themselves are better on Tingyun's ultimate, but then again, like I said, it works for the entire team. Also, don't forget, you can use both of them at the same time, Tingyun and Huohuo in the same team, and just the idea of that sounds broken. That leaves us with her technique. When using her technique, Huohuo basically uses a reverse Uno card, and instead of chasing her, opponents now run away from her. And if you trigger combat while they are feared, you also reduce their attack by 25% for 2 turns. And that is basically it when it comes to her entire kit. All the other minor traces increase her HP, her speed, as well as her effect resistance. Next, let us talk about Eidolons, because you know, that's kinda what we do around here. Eidolon 1 is immediately broken. We don't wait for Eidolon 6 for broken stuff. In the case of Huohuo, we get it right away. This Eidolon increases her sacrifice life stack count to 3, and as long as she has stacks, all allies gain 12% speed. Eidolon 2 introduces a battle rest mechanic to her sacrifice life. Whenever an ally dies during battle, they get resurrected with 50% HP, and Huohuo loses 1 stack. Keep in mind though that this effect only triggers twice during combat. Eidolon 3 and 5 are the same as they always are, so not a whole lot to talk about here. Eidolon 4 increases the healing of her skill and talent based on the max HP an ally has. The lower their HP, the more healing they get. And finally, Eidolon 6. This one is absolutely broken. Whenever she heals an ally, she increases their damage by 50%. Sounds broken, is broken. And yeah, those are all of her talents. In a TLDR version, use her skill in order to trigger her talent, use your ultimate in order to buff your allies, and use your normal attack in order to get skill points. Her Eidolons are all good because they all increase the effectiveness of her talent in a meaningful way. When it comes to the order you should level her abilities in, then her basic attack obviously is the last one. We don't really care about the damage here, all we want are the skill points. The other 3 are all equally as important. You do want the active and passive healing, though, due to the fact that the passive healing triggers more often throughout the fight, you preferably want to level her talent after her ultimate. So basically, ultimate first, skill and talent second, basic attack last. Alright, with that done, let us now move on to light cones and relics. For this one, we will move away from some of the combat footage and keep it simple instead. Her best in slot light cone obviously is her signature light cone. It gives you energy regeneration, healing, attack, kinda everything you want to see on a support light cone. Time Waits for No One is also a good option on Huohuo because it gives you HP as well as more healing. There is the whole damage aspect to it, but for this light cone it is more about the first two effects. You kinda want to use it if you try to push her overall healing. Echoes of the Coffin, unfortunately, is absolutely useless on Huohuo because she scales off HP. And the light cone gives you attack, so do the math here. Next we have 4-star light cones. Hey over here is kinda the baby version of Time Waits for No One. It has the same effects, just not as good. Shared Feeling is also an option you can use. It gives you more it gives you more healing and energy regeneration for your allies whenever you use Huohuo's skill. Keep in mind though that with this one, Huohuo becomes another skill point user, so this one is a little bit questionable, but you can still use it. After those two, we have Perfect Timing, which gives you more outgoing healing based on her effect resistance. Huohuo has a high base resistance, especially due to her major traits, so it is decently useful, but not as useful as the other ones, because it is only healing. Quid Pro Quo gives you energy regeneration at the cost of more healing. It is a good light cone because it gives you more support, and depending on how good your artifacts are, you might not even need more healing from your light cone. Lastly, we have post-OP Conversation, more energy regeneration and more healing after using your ultimate. Sounds good, is good, can be used, just like all the others. Overall, I would say Huohuo can use all the light cones in the abundance category, except for maybe Losha's light cone, because attack, unfortunately, like I said, is useless on Huohuo. I would say that your choice for light cones, it depends on what you want her to do. Do you need more healing? Go for light cones like Hey over here. Do you want more support? Go for light cones like Quid Pro Quo or Shared Feelings. Obviously, if you have a signature light cone, then use that one because that one is straight up better than all the other light cones there are. Now let us move on to her relics. I will keep the section simple, no fancy stuff, just based recommendations. What we want to have, and we already talked about that, right, is HP and speed. We do not need outgoing healing, because why would you go for that if you could straight up go for HP? It is the same in a way. So what sets are we going to use? Well, it's simple, we are going to use a combination of the Disciple set and the Messenger set. So basically, more HP and more speed. Another option you can go for is the Messenger set again, but in this case we are going to use a 4-set bonus, because this one will give you more speed to your allies after using your ultimate. The only thing you're not going to use is a 4-set Disciple bonus, because Huohuo is not our main DPS character, she's our support character. And before we move on to ornaments, let us quickly talk about stats. We want to have as much HP as we can get, as well as speed. We also want to have energy regeneration so that we can use her ultimate more often. That translates to HP and attack on your head and your hands, HP on your body, and speed or HP on your boots. Speed depending on whether you need it in order to reach a certain speed cap. The first one is at 120 speed, and by using your boots you get that one for free. Alright, now ornaments. Everything I said regarding stats applies here as well. We use HP on our sphere and energy regeneration on our link rope. The sets we are going to use are either the Fleet of Ages set or the Broken Keel set. Fleet of Ages gives you more HP and more attack to your allies if Huohuo reaches 120 speed or more. And remember, if you use speed boots, you get that one for free. The other one, Broken Keel, gives you effect resistance and 10% more crit damage for your allies after you reach 30% effect resistance on Huohuo. Remember her passive trace? Yeah, that one is kind of for free as well. There are two other options you can go for. First, we have the Vonwak set for more energy regeneration and more speed. And secondly, we have the Penacony Grand Hotel set. This one is new. I don't have it, and you probably don't have it either, right? But it does have a fairly interesting effect. It gives you 10% damage for all the characters in your party if they have the same element as the character that is wearing the set. So you can kinda see interesting compositions coming together here. For example, you can use a pure quantum composition and equip every single character with the same set. So 40% more quantum damage basically, right? It is fairly interesting, but obviously it's kind of a high investment set because every single character in your party needs to have that set. And that is basically her gear. So TLDR, get as much HP and energy regeneration as you can get. HP will increase her healing, energy regeneration will allow you to use her ultimate more often. Regarding sets, use any of the ones I mentioned, depending on what you have. Now let us move on to the last section of our guide, team composition. And this section will be the shortest one of them all because technically you can put her into any team there is. She provides healing, buffs, a sheet death if you have her Eidolons, she kinda has it all. For example, you can use her in a damage over time Kafka team, in a Blade team, especially if you're using the Penacony set, in a Jingliu team, a Topaz team and so on. That is because every single DPS character in the game scales off attack, so she is giga broken. Which brings us to the end of the guide. In the background you can see some memory of Zhenzhou footage, while I will give you my own honest opinion. Huohuo is a very good healer, period. She heals a lot, she gives you buffs, she's adorable, and so on. We already talked about all of that. But the question of whether you should pull her or not is not necessarily answered by how good she is, but by what characters you have. Do you have a Locha and a Fish Rank, for example? If the answer to those questions is yes, you probably don't need her because everything she does is also done by other characters, just not as good. But if you don't have a second effective healer in your roster, like me, because I only have Natasha besides Fish Rank, then Huohuo is a gigantic must-have. Like I said, she does it all. You can put her into any team, and if that doesn't scream worth it at you, then I don't know what else will. So once again, TLDR, do you already have a good healer? Then you might want to skip her for characters like Argenti, Ruin Mei, and so on. Do you still need a second healer? Then go for it. Either way, that is enough for me. If the guide was helpful, if you learned something, if you want to see more, then leave a like, a comment, a sub, all of that stuff. And as usual, have a great day or night wherever you live, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.